Today you're going to be learning about one of the coolest ancient civilizations in Utah, the Pueblo people. So here we have, you should have in your packets a couple of worksheet packets. One of them that looks like this, it's an activity page, and the other one that is a reading and starts off saying Ancestral Pueblo Culture, and it has questions at the end. Now we're going to start today with you going through your reading, and then I'm going to teach you more about the Pueblo people and show you more pictures. So before you start any reading, it's always a good strategy to look at the questions first. These are our questions. When did the Ancestral Pueblo live? What the name Anasazi is Navajo and means? What led the Ancestral Pueblo people to create their elaborate cliff villages? Why were the Ancestral Pueblo people able to make and acquire beautiful things? How did the Ancestral Pueblo people's environment and daily life affect their art and architecture? And then you're going to use synonyms to explain vocabulary words found in the reading. Synonym is a word that means the same things. You're going to use your context clues to figure out what these words, hostile, irrigate, domesticated, acquire, and migrated, mean. So, now pull out this reading packet, go ahead and pause the video, read through the packet, and answer the questions. When you are done, turn the video back on, and I will be happy to teach you more about the Pueblo people. All right. Hopefully by now you have finished the reading as well as the questions, because we're going to dive into more about who the Pueblo people are. If you need to send the questions back, we answered them, we graded them in class. If you weren't in class, go ahead and send them to me in your bag. So, this is a pot. It's a Pueblo pot, and you might already know some things about it from the reading. Here's our timeline. As you read in the reading, we had a lot of people living in Utah long before the Pueblo people arrived, but they were here at the same time as the Fremonts, which we've learned about previously. The Pueblo people are the ancestors of our modern cultures. So, Pueblo and Anasazi both are referring to the same people. This map shows us where the Anasazi live, and they just barely tuck into Utah. They mainly bleed into Arizona, New Mexico area, but they are a little bit here in the very, very southern tip of Utah. And of course, they interacted a lot with the Fremont people who filled most of our state. So, this is a beautiful example of one of their pots. They lived in the Four Corners region and are ancestors of the modern Hopi Indian, and they were neighbors with the Fremont people. They lived in Pueblo homes in the cliffside. Now, this is really cool. Their homes, I can't wait to show them to you. But their pottery, gorgeous pottery, was made from clay found in the region. If you have been in school, you've gotten to play with clay in Discovery. And they fired it until it was white. And then they made beautiful designs on top of their white pottery. Gorgeous clay. Now, this is Mesa Verde, and it is one of the most stunning and well-preserved examples of the cliffside villages that the Pueblo people lived in. You might remember the the Fremont also lived above in the cliffs of the mountains, but the Pueblo people really built into the cliffs. They made these beautiful, intricate homes out of clay and rocks in the natural area, and lived in protected areas. Here you can see this is a home made out of rocks and clay with a window, and it overlooks the dark canyon. And this is in South Utah. Just gorgeous, beautiful, really detailed homes that have survived for thousands of years. I can only imagine how many homes used to be scattered around the hills and canyons of Utah. So, as you read, Anasazi comes from Navajo, and it's not a very kind word, but the Europeans called them the Ancestral Pueblo people. The Hopi call them the Hisatsinom. Now, I've been using the term Ancestral Pueblo people because that's the term that Europeans are using but hitsatsinom would be the most accurate term. So their ancestors were basket makers. So therefore, a lot of art historians think that these pots actually came out of the basket weaving. They believe, the story goes, that they made baskets, and then they would coat the baskets in clay so that it would no longer be able to have leaks. You can't carry water in a basket, but if it's protected by clay, then when you've got the basket, you can carry as much water or food as you want in it. And then, so the legend goes, the theory goes, that the basket fell into the fire, which of course burned up the basket, but the clay hardened into a pot. And then they were able to say, okay, you know what, this is better. So we don't know if that's true or not, but that's the theory. And of course, the Pueblo people took their pottery and made it into beautiful works of art. Look how detailed. And this one, you can see, this isn't even just simple. They got decorative, they got unique. This one has a lizard as a handle. Very cool. And we believe it was used in their kiva buildings for ceremonies. This one has feet on it, real feet. And the designs are intricate. The handles and feet are creative. They really made art. Keep in mind that because their civilization was able to stay in place, they had those beautiful homes and didn't need to worry so much about survival. They could instead focus on making beautiful art. This, by the way, is an example of a kiva. This is where they would have ceremonies. Now, this one is actually not from the Pueblo people. This one is made by Fremont artisans. But remember, the Fremont and the Pueblo were neighbors, so they influenced each other. The Fremonts were influenced by the Anasazi and made pots that were also, just like them, creative. This one looks like a bird. It has the same similar type of lines and design, very much copying their art. And on the other hand, this is Anasazi art, or Pueblo people art, where they're drawing and making a petroglyph in the style of the Fremont people. So they're trading, they're giving each other ideas. And that's something we see in all sorts of cultures. Now, we need to remember about today's real learning target is understanding how their aesthetic or their designs come from their environment. So remember, they are surrounded by cliffs with some rivers that had lots of wet clay under it. Think about how that would change their art as opposed to the Fremont people who lived more in Utah and less in the Arizona region. And so maybe they had less clay to go around. There aren't a lot of rivers running around. All right, so now at this point in time, you've learned, you've seen some beautiful art. Hopefully you have the inspiration that it takes for you to create your own. What I'm going to ask you to do is pull out this packet and go ahead and write something down that you noticed about the art. Notice how they have these lines, thick lines of different thickness. They're straight. They, some of them intersect with one another. They make these cool spirally effects. And you're going to design your own Fremont pot. I do want you to use a ruler because that's how they didn't have rulers, but they probably had other tools that created straight edges. And I want you to use your tool that creates straight edge and make your own beautiful Pueblo designed pot. This is your assignment for today. This and the questions, I want them both. So get those done and bring them in. And thank you so much.